have made more sense if it was given to us before she left. Since she was here at that meeting and she knew she would be going, if she had written to say, I'll be unable to attend tomorrow, if she didn't need to write, she would tell us, I would be unable to attend, I have been invited, I am going away, I'll come after 10 days. That would make sense. But now this doesn't make sense. What should happen now is that we instruct, a warrant of arrest be issued, and that we work with Interpol to make sure that Justin Bajenda is arrested and brought to this committee immediately. Wherever she is, whether she's in Amsterdam, whether she's in the US, whether she's in Nairobi, whether she's in Rwanda, wherever she is, she should be arrested and brought because she's taking us for a ride.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to first of all disagree with the lawyer's letter that Bajenda is a law-abiding citizen. Because if she was law-abiding, that act of only informing this committee, she disregarded the committee, she did not notify us about her travel. You can't say that one is a law-abiding citizen. That's number one. Two, Mr. Chairman, we needed Justin Bajenda for her role in the transactions that happened. And therefore, she's the key witness. Now, what is the committee going to do minus her? Remember, this committee is composed of members of parliament who have huge responsibilities here in parliament, but also in the constituencies. I had to travel last night from Zesui in Sironko district just to come and participate in this meeting. I am sure my chairman was in Bugweri the other day. What are we going to do to come here, languish here like Marabou's talk when we have a lot of work to do? Mr. Chair, I seek your guidance, and I would agree with the Honorable Mujiche that we produce this Honorable Bajenda immediately.
Thank you, Chair. Part of my submission. Really, Mr. Chairman and colleagues, Madam Bajenda could have informed this committee. But if you see the submission of the letter given to the lawyer, she intends to justify that she thought she was going to appear before this committee only one day. She didn't get other communication from the governor, which is already wrong. Then two, as she sat and she knew the next day she's supposed to submit, she sneaks out of parliament. As she is about to reach the airport, she writes a letter taking this committee for a ride. Mr. Chairman, this is unacceptable. And indeed, because of that, would want someone to go.
Honorable Namayanja, and I make a ruling on this.
Mr. Chairman, I'm completing. I'm not done. I'm not yet done. So, Mr. Chairman, whether we invoke the Interpol, this is the time. This should be implemented because the justification through the lawyer does not stand. It's not really attainable. Last, Mr. Chairman, having experienced this from this lady, Justin, we have so many of the witnesses to come before this committee. We don't want to be taken for a ride for the second time. Could it be possible, Mr. Chairman, that you use your authority? All the witnesses whose issues are before this committee are banned from traveling unless with permission, so that the work of this committee is not derailed. And maybe the passports be deposited, because we don't want to hear tomorrow another one taking off for the airport. I beg to submit.
We don't, because we're all speaking the same thing, and the committee has to make a decision. We don't have to continue being repetitive, because we'll not be making a progress. Can I have, therefore, Honorable Mong and Honorable Namayan, and I guide and we proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, when I listened attentively to what the lawyer had written, if I could recall your ruling on the day Madam Bajenda was here, you made a ruling and asked all the people who were involved in these defunct banks to appear until the sessions are over. It was your own ruling. And then the next day, the person who was supposed to respond to the first queries was Mrs. Bajenda. So for her to allude that she was not aware that she was supposed to be appearing, that is misrepresentation to the lawyer. And then I also look at this as a contempt of parliament. When you see all this happening, if the governor can afford coming here on a daily basis, and you know very well that the proceedings of parliament take precedence on anything, unless if it is a criminal case, it is in our what? Parliamentary powers and privileges. Unless if she had a very serious case, maybe a criminal case somewhere, that is what would, that's why I would say maybe she had a case, something, you would allow her to be aware. But this is true contempt of parliament. I don't think what she had gone to do is more important than what we are doing in this committee. And much as we accepted to invoke Rule 9 of parliamentary powers and privileges, Chair, we can still invoke Rule 10 on issuing of warrant of arrest for this lady.
Honorable Namayanja.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, partly it has been answered because I pronounced my absence and sought permission from you. You are very much aware. I had wanted to seek clarification whether the adjournment mentioned that the following day she was supposed to appear, but when the Vice was responding, she partly responded to that. I had wanted just a clarification, Mr. Chairman.
Ross.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. As we are here, we know the whole country is watching, and we have to be accountable for the taxpayers' money, Honorable Chair. On that of agenda, I want also to recommend my colleagues and also suggest that Mr. Sekabira and Mr. Kitimbo Mugwanya, they deposited they deposited their passports with the CID so that we don't keep on drying all the time when we don't have the witnesses in the house.
Chair, maybe let's first finish with Madam Bajenda. I would suggest we first finish with Madam Bajenda.
I need to make a decision. Honorable Swaga, let me make a decision. It's already 11:30. It's already 11:30, and you know when the governor and his team were here, and we are just lamenting about whether somebody was holding us in contempt and so on for more than half an hour. I don't think that is a value addition to this process. We have to take a decision and now. Colleagues, first of all, it is true that when we adjourned, Mrs. Bajenda knew that she was required to appear before this committee the following day. So much as in her response, she does refer to the fact that the governor didn't write to her or we didn't issue a summons. We don't have to issue summons when somebody is appearing and we are doing business. It is only required when we have a challenge on why somebody is not appearing, then we invoke our powers under the Constitution, under the Parliament Powers and Privileges Act, and under the Rules of Procedure. It is also true that we did issue summons, which actually was dispatched yesterday, the lawful summons, because at that point we thought Mrs. Vagenda needed us to be acting authoritatively under our rules and not just respecting this institution. The summons, it is also true, were dispatched electronically. It is also true that she received those summons because she acknowledged in her reply to the clerk, but also by instructing her lawyer with the limited mandate, I guess, of representing her on disappearance, because was coming up about the conflict of interest. Just the limited mandate of representing her on disappearance. If Mr. Chilonda is going to represent her beyond this, then we'll have to revisit the issues raised by the Honorable Elijah Cooper and the Honorable Francis Mwejuche. There is no doubt that we have the powers, and I'm sure the lawyer knows, the lawyer of the bank, and I would also like to inform the officers of the bank that don't make Parliament run to its powers. That is dangerous. 2, how we exercise these powers also matters. We'll have to exercise them sparingly, but please, Bank of Uganda, don't force us to resort to the tools we have. It is not in your interest, neither is it in the interest of the company. So we'll require all of you to cooperate, stay throughout these proceedings like indeed your governor and deputy governor have been throughout. The deputy governor, I think he has missed twice, for which occasions he has what? They have communicated to me, and including the first time that the governor also communicated his absence. That shows respect of this process and this institution, and for which you will be grateful to both gentlemen for having respected this process. To the officers who are trying to insinuate that we don't have powers or we are not a value addition, my advice is don't be tempted to walk that path. It will not help. I like to exercise my powers, but sparingly. And when I invoke them with reason. 1, that the warrant itself was delivered yesterday and electronically. We will give Mrs. Vagenda 1 an extension of the summon, and since there are now information coming that actually she could not even be in the US as we talk now, these summons are extended to Thursday, the day after tomorrow. But a warrant of arrest is automatically issued if Mrs. Vagenda does not appear on Thursday, because as we talk, she could be in Nairobi. However, I would like the police to ascertain where Mrs. Vagenda is as we talk now. And I need that report by the close of business today. That will help on the Thursday. The extension for of the summon is extended to Thursday. After Thursday, if it is found out that Vagenda is actually in Nairobi and not in the US, a warrant of arrest is automatically issued. As of now, let us give it the benefit of doubt that we will be reluctant to issue that warrant of arrest until that point. Thursday, 10:30. And the police, I hope you've got the instructions, have you? Okay. Honorable colleagues, there is another point even before we begin. For those of you who have been reading who read social media, there is a letter which has been circulating on the media, written by the governor to me. I didn't carry my phone, but I think I talked to the clerk about it, that the governor has written to me and has forwarded confidential documents, and the letter is signed by the governor. Governor, I want to say I have not received that letter. Not formally, I've not received it. It's just a letter on the social media. And the letter says that you have forwarded the confidential documents to me in regard to minutes and so on. I want to say this, that it is very, very disappointing that you write to me before I receive the letter, which is supposed to be forwarding confidential documents, and it is on what? Social media. What is going on in the Bank of Uganda? I thought at the beginning we were really serious with each other, say everything confidential should be treated in the same way. How do you get confidential communication and documents and release them to social media? Because even as I talk now, I have checked. First of all, when I read it on social media, I asked my clerk and said he has not seen that sort of letter. I asked the secretary, he had not seen it. I asked the clerk at Parliament, because I remember I asked your director, executive director of supervision, that anything confidential should not even be forwarded to my office. If I'm not there, it should be forwarded to the clerk at Parliament. This morning, she said she has not received that letter. Governor, if this is how we are going to handle confidential issues, I think there is a problem with your institution. And for us, we are treating Bank of Uganda as a very serious institution. But to have things like this happening in your institution, it is very, very disappointing. I don't know whether what I'm saying makes sense, Governor. Did you write to me? And this letter is in social media. I've not seen it. And the letter has purportedly confidential information to me, which I have not received, but the confidential information and the letter are on social media.
Mr. Chairman, I am terribly sorry about this matter. This matter was brought to my attention only about 30 minutes before I left the office to come here. It's true I signed this letter, but this letter was actually not meant to come to you yet. It was meant to come to you at the right time during our discussions. Unfortunately, I can only say at this point in time that I have instituted investigations to find out what exactly happened. But I can assure you that I am equally shocked by this occurrence.
I asked to take, because I brought it for information. I'm sure some of you have seen that communication. And I don't think that would be subject of our committee's discussion. Only for the committee to note that actually there's something terribly wrong at Bank of Uganda. And we would like to treat this institution with the utmost respect it deserves, together with its leaders. If we were having something like that, you need to clean up your house, Governor. Because when we set rules for ourselves about how to handle confidential matters, we have followed them to the letter. We've instituted measures in place to handle everything confidential, and none of my colleagues has ever leaked anything confidential as we talk now. Why? Because we are respecting this institution. But I also warned the governor that there is a problem with your institution about your confidentiality. So the problem does not lie this way. The problem lies, the earlier you investigate and get to the root bottom of the matter, the better. Colleagues, Mrs. Vagenda is not here. We will do business. However, to the other officers.
Are still important in this session.
Sorry?
Is Mrs. Vagenda's lawyer still important in this session?
He has no business here.
Okay.
We'll have to do business. Mrs. Vagenda is not here, but the issues are here. Sorry?
Mr. Chairman, I had raised fear that probably we would see again some of more witnesses disappearing. Could it be appropriate, Right Honorable Chair, to reaffirm to these officers, the witnesses, not to leave this country and probably they will deposit their passports? We need that security.
Colleagues, if Mrs. Vagenda was to appear tomorrow, like indeed I think she will, we'll ask her to deposit both passports because there is a reason to. The others, I have found no reason to doubt that they will not attend. But for Mrs. Vagenda, it will be a legitimate request to have her passports deposited with either the bank or with Parliament. But for the other officers, I have no reason to take that sort of decision.
Procedure.
Yes, Honorable Mujiche.
Mr. Chairman, when we adjourned the other time, we said there is no way we can proceed when Vagenda is not here. And we said she was very instrumental in the investigation and we were having challenges to proceed while she was away. Now the procedure matter or the guidance I'm seeking for is then how are we going to proceed?
Order. Order, Chair.
Well, procedure takes precedence.
Just complete, Honorable Mujiche. Yeah, you see, the reason why we adjourned at that time is to have a smooth, orderly proceeding. The challenge we are facing because of the non-appearance of Mrs. Vagenda is we are going to have a back and forth. That's the challenge. But that will not stop us from proceeding. Assuming Mrs. Vagenda does not appear, what happens? Are we going to stop here and say, well, we cannot work because Mrs. Vagenda hasn't appeared? However, as of now, and I would like to caution colleagues that and the bank, that because of her non-appearance, we are going to have this back and what? And forth. And when she comes, after some issues which will pass on later to her, she will have to take us back. And I'd like to request colleagues to start noting those issues down. At the point of adjournment, if you guys, colleagues, sorry. At the point of adjournment, we are talking about reports which Mr. Sekabira said he had handed to his immediate supervisors, and one of them being Mrs. Vagenda. And the current executive director did say that he had not received them. When in that afternoon we asked the current executive director supervision to bring all the files he was handed over to, we submitted them to the Auditor General, who perused them, analyzed, and those reports were missing. The question that is now pending, which we have to resolve, where did these files which Mr. Sekabira said he handed over, and they are not with Mr. Twinemans, where are they? I asked the governor at that time, do you have a system in place which can actually monitor your files? And I remember the secretary at that time said that they have administration. You call it administration? Where is the secretary? Yes.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'm representing the bank secretary for purposes of this meeting. I wasn't there for the last session, but for purposes of how the records management process generally works, records move from an active to archival state through a middle layer called semi-active. So departments or business units will generally have the documents that they're using at a present time, but they will also keep them for as long as they need to use them, depending on whether issues are closed or not. However, based on a schedule, the Secretariat takes on a process of archiving by appraising documents at these business units and transferring them guided by the records retention schedule to a point that they're archival. So what happens is that when we carry out such an appraisal and such a process per department, then we end up with documents that go to a semi-active state after they've left departmental registries for intermittent consultation as they may need. In due course, those that have enduring value.
Madam, the process is too long. Let us go back to the issue. We want to know whether, you know why I'm asking these colleagues, and I think you will intervene here. We want to know, is it Mr. Mans being economical with the truth? Is it Mr. Sekabira, or is it Madam Vajenda? That is it. Because not all of you can be right, because you are contradicting. So we want to know, did these files exist? And if they exist, why is Mr. Twinemans saying they don't exist? I think that's the point. Did this file exist? And before Mr. Vian, okay, Honorable Viandala, come in.
Yeah, I just want to ask.
Then Honorable Mong.
Just to ask the governor whether some documents have been stolen. He may be knowing that some documents were stolen. Are there some documents which have been stolen from the offices?
Chair, if I could recall what happened that day, where Honorable Mwijuke brought up an issue of suspected stolen documents, and we called for the Director of Security. And the Director, members even claimed to have had some kind of document that was written by the Director, and that's why we call the Director Security. Maybe it would be prudent enough for us to interact with the Director Security on what was said that day, for us to know whether the documents were in the archives and were stolen or not. That's what I would really suggest. That I don't know if the Director of Security has come today.
Thank you, Chair.
Has the Director of Security come?
We don't know the officer, but the governor will tell us which officer is going to answer the question.
Chair,
Yes,
the procedural question I'm raising, in fact, is not connected to what the Honorable Vice Chair stated. We see new faces behind the front page here. Maybe it would have been procedural right for them to introduce such that we get to know. Maybe that would have even sorted the issue or the Honorable Vice Chair is raising. That's the procedural question, Chair, I'm raising. But getting to this issue, Honorable Biandala has raised here, because we're getting information that somebody ferried the documents.
No. Let's do Honorable Cooper. Let us not speculate about anything. Let us ask the clear questions, because if we say we get this information and somebody is like, oh, they are speculating, they are what, we are going to get to the bottom of this. Can we have the people responsible? The question has been asked by Honorable Viandal. Can we have an answer?
Jewelry, I'm helping Ugandans make the smart choice. Why choose this powder?
It cleans just like any other ordinary detergent.
Ariel gives you better stain removal in one wash, even with less powder.
It can't be.
Observe grass, tea, and chocolate drink.
I'll need 1, 2 handfuls.
And just 1 handful of Ariel. See? Better stain removal with only 1 wash.
It's the smart choice for sure.
Ariel removes tough stains in 1 wash.
Saturday Monitor brings you the 13th Seeds of Gold Farm Clinic in the Eastern region that will focus on cassava, citrus, groundnuts, beef, dairy, sorghum, poultry, and green gram. With key interest in post-harvest handling, value addition, sustainable land management, agribusiness aspects, and economics. Come attend the Farm Clinic on Saturday, December 1st, 2018 at National Semi-Arid Resource Research Institute, Nasari, Serere, Igola at 7 a.m. Entrance is free, includes training and meals. For exhibition and more information, please call 0704 22 50 84. The Farm Clinic is brought to you by Saturday Monitor's Seeds of Gold magazine in partnership with NARO, the Microfinance Support Center, Bank of Uganda, Agriculture Business Initiative, and NTV. Seeds of Gold, smarter farming for bumper harvests.
Kwanjulire always cotton soft. Zanjawulo akasusu kayo kagonvu ateka wewevu ku mubiri gwo ate nga zikuwummuza nga bwe zikuwa obukumi olunaku lwonna. Zisangibwa mu maduuka gonna ku siringi 25,000 zokka.
The wizarding and non-wizarding worlds have been at peace for over a century. Grindelwald wants to see that peace destroyed.
Dumbledore, you want me to hunt him down?
I cannot move against Grindelwald. It has to be you.
The time's coming when you're going to have to pick a side.
No, I don't do sides.
Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald in cinemas November 16. Book tickets now.
Can I have an inventory? Yes. Please stand up. I'm sorry, it's not like a classroom, but because you are at the back, you've heard the background of the conversation because you have not been here.
I would prefer you repeat the question so that I answer exactly what you want.
Have you ever had a case of theft of files or documents at Bank of Uganda?
Mr. Chair, I think in this regard, we received the confidential information on 13th March that there was information that some files were taken out of Plot 45, and we carried out an investigation.
Just go back. You did what?
We carried out an investigation.
No. Let's go slow. Let the officer. Okay, I think what you do, just narrate, then we shall come in for clarification. Just repeat, and then we shall have the seek clarification.
On 13th March, we received information that there was a likelihood.
Which year?
This year. 2018. We received information that.
No. Please. Just officer, look this side.
Yes, please.
And please, and colleagues, can I request you really, like we have always agreed, to be calm. We give the officers the respect they have and the opportunity to say what they have to say. Please. Yes, sir.
When we got this information, we played back the cameras, and we found actually on Sunday, 11, 2018, 4:20 p.m. Sunday.
Just look this way. Don't mind. Please, honorable colleagues, the rules are, if you need anything, you go through the chair.
We are taking note of the narration, and when he mentioned 11th of 2018, he never mentioned the month. So somebody who's taking a note.
Just take the notes, and the time for seeking clarification will come.
Thank you very much.
And leave the office alone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I was actually invaded by.
Thank you very much. Can you proceed, sir?
I said on Sunday, we found on the camera footage that on Sunday, February 11, 2018, at 4:20 p.m., bugs were ferried from plot 45 to the cars of the staff.
Bugs were ferried
to the car of one of the staff members.
Yes.
So we wanted to start a search at the home, find out what kind of documents those which were taken were, because we verified the documents which went out. As you know, the process of search warrant takes time. It took us time before we got the search warrant.
From the warrant for where?
The police.
From the police.
Then that following day, at around 6, bugs were returned to the bank. 6 p.m. I'll confirm the time properly and give you the correct time. Bugs were seen being ferried back to the bank. So we consulted and we said, if we go and do a search in the home, we might be embarrassed because already we had issues where the person was saying she was being withheld. So we held the search on the assumption that if the files were taken out, perhaps they were brought back. And if they were not brought back, they would be found out later at the time of either handover or any other time. But we left the case open with the police for investigations.
You talked about the bags were carried. Who exactly carried the bags?
The bags were carried by the driver and the personal bodyguard of Mrs. Bajenda.
By the driver and personal bodyguard
of Mrs. Bajenda.
Of Mrs. Bajenda.
Yeah. They carried them from our office, and she was seated in the office, and she joined them later.
So when you are talking about this officer, you meant Mrs. Vajenda?
Those were the files which we had in relation to this, what we had. That's the information I have in relation to this committee.
Is it a coincidence there for colleagues that it is actually the same office where we're having a problem whether there are files or not? Who is this driver?
I'll find out the name and give it to you.
Is he still in the services of the Bank of Uganda?
He is.
Who is this personal bodyguard?
She's called Adokin.
Is she still in the services of Bank of Uganda?
She's still the personal bodyguard of Mrs. Vajenda.
Okay, colleagues, I don't want to make deductions. Let me hear from colleagues first. Colleagues, first of all, let's mind the time. It is midday. Now we are faced with this. Yes? Yeah, sure. You sit down. Do you have anything to say on this? Did you do any other thing after that?
No, we didn't do anything after that.
Because now this is going to we need to have to call these two people eventually. But
the only thing we did, we took statements from the security guards who are at those points, and we have them on record.
Who are they? How many? Two?
Yes.
Do you have those statements?
They made statements.
They made statements?
Yes, please.
What are their names?
There's Charles Moro. Charles Moro.
Omoro? Moro.
Yes,
Charles Moro.
And then there's another one, Anne. The other name I don't recall. I don't want to give a wrong name.
Okay, we have two security fellows, and then the driver and the bodyguard. Hono Banywa, Hono Bokupa, Hono Vyandala, Hono Bokasiranja.
Thank you, Chair.
Afterwards, this time I'll go to the end, the behind, the bank bench.
Thank you, Chair. From the submission, and you would like to find out from the officer, as the one in charge of the security, whether he made a report to the management of Bank of Uganda to that effect, and if we can have a copy of that submission, so that on record we want to know whether Governor and the Bank of Uganda are aware of that incident, and since then what happened, especially from the management end after receiving the security information, if he submitted.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I want to thank Honorable Biandala for raising this question, and when I was supplementing Chairperson, now that's where I was leading to. I want to thank you for the ruling you made, though I had stated it because we had picked information. One, I think maybe at an appropriate time, maybe confidentially, I hope this does not leak, the Director of Security should interact with you about the informer. That's one. That we leave it to you, the Chairman, to handle. That's my proposal. Two, Mr. Pio, when the bags of documents were returned, did you verify which type of documents were returned?
politics bamujje mu security eggwanga lyaffe ligenda kukola ki kufuna obuzibu nze omuntu wa wansi atuula wansi ku ttaka ssebo nze ngenda okuweerera omwana oyo ng'onzimbidde essomero lya kalina
naye ne gavumenti oba eri munkwe etubuzaabuza tekutula eri awo tulage eno tulage eno esayidi katale nesayidi katale akati abantu ate koona abantu basalinga badde eno nga badde eno emotoka zibakoone awantu atwaka gavumenti etekawo sente wetulaba ambulensi zetuzibira omuntu n'awulira akagombe ka ambulensi ng'ereeta mulwadde n'alemera mu kkubo.
NTV brought you the first economic summit in 2016 and the second in 2017, geared at finding ways to kickstart Uganda's economy and have growth with jobs.
How do we stimulate demand? You can stimulate demand in two ways.
At the NTV Economic Summit, we do not lament or just cry about our problems.
Ugandans are not participating. Those who try, they ask you, how much experience do you have?
My answer to you is, register the farmers, change the policy.
We seek and discuss solutions.
What kind of project are you going to develop in 5 years and be able to make money?
Really, we should use the capital markets to mobilize long-term financing to complement government efforts of financing infrastructure.
The theme for the third NTV Economic Summit is key policy triggers for economic growth with jobs.
Creating jobs. Who can do it? You know, that's my passion. The task I have is to industrialize this country.
The summit will be held on the 28th November 2018 at the Kampala Serena Conference Center. Join us as we seek for real solutions for the real challenges to foster real growth with jobs for Uganda. The summit is brought to you by NTV, Turning on Your World, and supported by the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development.
Amannya nze Sozi Wilfred, driver wa taxi. Olunaku lumu nali nvuga mmotoka nga nva mu nnyendo ne neekanga emmotoka yali eyisa mu katonga.
Got concerned, you could now know it was not under the directives of Bank of Uganda. So whoever did this did it for the personal satisfaction. And that's why I'm saying bags could leave Bank of Uganda, bags of documents, and come back, not under the sanction of Bank of Uganda. So, Mr. Chairman, I want to restrict myself a bit to a revelation by the director, saying that they eventually found no need of searching, carrying out a search to the home of Mrs. Vagenda, because bags were eventually returned the following day.
And when they're home, we don't know. We have an evidence as of now.
Yes, wherever she had taken them. What I want to find out is briefly this. Because you said when you consulted, whom did you consult to come to the conclusion that you don't need to search further now that bags are back? Mr. Chairman, because bags are bags and they carry different documents. Now, why I'm asking that, how could you ascertain that some documents could not have been taken away before they could be brought back? Two, to what extent was the police involved? You have spoken about taking long to carry out the search that we had planned earlier because of the limitations to do with the police. How did the police treat you to actually take long? And I want in that same line to find out to what extent was the police involved in this suspicious activity.
Mr. Pio, are you writing down those questions? Or you trust your hard disk? Sorry? I would advise you write them down. It helps in memory. General?
Thank you, Chair. Mine is about the procedures
in relation to security precautions. Question number one, how many times do you get visitors on a Sunday, especially in the evening? Yes. Secondly, any checkpoint is always manned by personnel. Do you still have those people who were deployed that day still working with the bank? And when that happened, when did you come to know of it as head of security through their reporting chain? And maybe the last one is, what did you feel when you got this information first? Because either maybe they could have briefed you that it was on authority of so and so, and so how did you feel as head of security to find out that there are some crucial items taken out of the bank? What if it was money? Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to take the next round of colleagues, but let me caution. If you have something which you think might compromise the security of the institution, you need to find a way. We want all the information, but we don't want you again to say anything that will compromise the security of the institution. But that notwithstanding, we want to get all the information which is relevant. And where you think they will compromise, you need to tell us that this one, I may not say it, then we know how we can get that information. Okay? You don't have to just sit on it. You just have to let us know that if I go beyond this, I'll compromise the security of the institution. However, then at that point we would have a different way of receiving that information. No, you're going to, there are a few clarifications you're going to have from colleagues. So Vincent, Francis, Babas, you came late.
Thank you.
Then
Chair.
the workers. Then Chigezi. There are two Chigezis in any case.
Thank you, Chair. Mine is, I would like to find out generally the procedure of taking out documents from the Bank of Uganda. A document, anyone leaving the bank, is he searched or not? So what I would like to find out is the procedure for anyone to take out, let's say, a cup or an asset or anything from the Bank of Uganda. How is it? Does he simply carry anything he wants and go away? So I would like to know whether there is any procedure or regulations regarding taking out properties from the Bank of Uganda. Then in respect to these documents that were taken out and now they were being brought back, first of all, why were they not searched when they were coming in? And of course then after you have explained the procedure, then we could know where the problem could have been. Thank you, Chair.
My only, before Wadamunjuche comes in, bags have gone out, bags have come back. Are they the same content that has gone out?
Mr. Chairman, of course I'm very disappointed by the nomadic way of doing things at Bank of Uganda. The casual way.
Nobody's a very serious people.
They just go. Mr. Chairman, they got a warrant to go and search, and at some stage they abandoned the searching. Were they then convinced that everything that went out came back for them to abandon the search? Why did they abandon the search, even with the warrant? Two, Mr. Chairman, I would want to suggest that even before Vajenda comes back, her home is condemned of immediately. Even now. So that whatever is there, because it does not get out. Because you see,
I am the chair. Forget about that. Continue.
Well, that is for police now. Whether which home, how many homes, that is for police.
You see, the record will not know that interruption, so just be consistent.
The idea is that we are not sure that all bags were brought back. We are not sure that we may not have some bags there and documents. And we are now going to wait until Thursday and then when she comes back. And we don't know the transactions that will be happening between now and then. Finally, the governor is asked the security officer to say something, actually to respond. But to the governor, was a report given to you, the security report? Because you remember that time when I raised this matter, I said a letter, I had information that a letter was written to the governor to this effect. Now, was the letter written to you? Are you also hearing this now? Like you have always told us, I have no idea, I have no information. Are you hearing about this report now that the information went out? If you got it then, what did you do?
If your question has been overtaken by events, then we can leave it. Honorable Jah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the head of security of Bank of Uganda, at one point, if I heard well, said that at the time of abandoning the search, there was the Mrs. Wajenda had been complaining of witch hunt. In what respect was the witch hunt? Was it the witch hunt? Had it just started at the time the bags were taken? Was the witch hunt in well long before the bags went? I want to see in what which witch hunt was she talking about? In what context was the witch hunt? The one Mrs. Wajenda was talking about, because at the abandoning of the search, she seemed to be jittered about seeing herself being witch hunted all the time, trying to check her home, checking everything she had taken, although she's not a clean lady. So, in what context did she bring it in? Thank you.
The security officer is being loaded with so many questions, and I think at this point let him have the clarification. Because we need to bring this thing about the files to an end and proceed to other things.
Thank you, Chair.
It's okay.
Thank you, Chair. I will start with the one of witch hunt. The witch hunt was around, she called me, we have a security consultant in the bank. She called us to her office with the security consultant and told us that she was being witch hunted. And we said by who? And she mentioned certain names. And we said we don't think you're being witch hunted by anybody. And we say if you have information that you're being witch hunted, give us the information, which they didn't give. No, that was before. On the issue of the search, we started this process on the 13th. We got the search warrant the following day. She had traveled, and when she traveled, she came back at a certain time. She came back around 11:30. Then at around 6, the bags were brought in the office.
6 p.m.
6 p.m. And the security procedures were flouted. and we saw it on the cameras the following morning.
They were floated even when
the things were not searched.
And the two people, the gentleman and the lady, who ferried them out, they are the very people bringing the bags in?
No, yes, they were the two people who were bringing the bags in. And after that, the following morning,
just some clarification. You said the security system was faulted. Faulted, no, what? Switched off, they were not capturing, or what did you mean?
The security procedures were breached because what was brought in were not searched. She just took them in, and when we asked the people, and they said, you know, this person is so forceful. We were intimidated, and she said she had just come from the airport, and the things which she had brought were things which she had traveled with from South Africa. We found it a bit strange.
But if you, maybe the question is not to you. If you, from the airport, you have things, why don't you go them to your house? Instead, you feed them in the office, and you don't allow them to be checked.
Those are some of the reasons why we were suspicious, and we thought we would be embarrassed if we went home to search the home and find nothing. Because the following day she sent us an email and said, actually, why did you people do this? It seems the search was leaked to her. By who, we don't know.
Do you have that email?
We have the email.
Okay. I will need all those emails and communication about the subject. Proceed with your clarification.
She didn't see why we were searching her home without asking her, and the things which she took were her personal documents which she has been collecting all the time she has been working in the bank. And for us, we just said, fine, we'd have it on record that documents went. She has to prove whether those were personal documents or not, because we didn't see them. After that, later on, whenever she would want to take documents, she would call us, because the following, I think on July 1st or 30th June, she called me in the afternoon. I was at home, said I wanted to take my things home, and the security people have refused me to go with them. Then I said, I would advise you not to take anything out of the offices on a Saturday. Wait on Monday, I will send my people to check the documents you are taking. Because we don't want a repeat of what happened earlier. And she agreed to that, and the documents were checked the following day on Monday, the following week on Monday, and they were personal items.
Oh, colleagues, we're going to take a decision on this. Maybe not now, because it has to sink in. It has to sink in fast. Honorable Kasivante, I know all of us have burning questions.
Yeah, I could first answer one more question.
Yes.
There was a issue where they were asking us about access in the bank. We have levels of access to the bank. We have what we call management access. They can access the bank anytime because they have times they can be summoned to go and make presentations some other places and the rest of it. But we have on record, we have a system which shows when and how somebody entered the bank all the time. We can view that, and we can also have the logs when one enters and leaves the bank.
Did you make a report about this breach?
I did.
We will need that report, but it should be forwarded to us. The usual confidential reports are forwarded. Okay?
Yes, please.
Who has something very burning before I make some guidance? Can you answer what Honorable asked? Remind him.
Ask whether it was money.
After the management BOU, did they have all the meetings where I suppose you must have attended? What were the reaction with you after your reports?
The reaction was that we were very disappointed that the information leaked because we didn't see the things go out, what was inside, and then we also didn't see how the things which came in.
We saw how it came in, but we don't know what was in. The logic was just like what he said. You come from an airport, you have a car, you have guards, you come with a car to the bank, remove the things from the car, take them to the office, offload them, bring back the bags to the car. It was suspicious.
Yeah, I asked.
Okay, maybe before that, I asked, did your camera capture again those bags leaving?
They did. They did.
Leaving again?
They did.
They did?
Yes, please.
When?
That very evening. The bags were offloaded in our office and the bags went off. To the car, I don't know where. There was a red bag and another black bag.
Chair, my questions have not been answered. I asked how many bags left, how many bags came in. Because you have done investigation, you must be having this information now.
The bags which left on the other day, there were 3 bags.
Did she give an inventory of what took out of those files?